downtown Manhattan in the center of the universe, where we do all of the kitting, manufacturing, shipping, coding, videoing, tutorializing, and more. It all happens here in the United States. All that advanced manufacturing, it's here, it's happening, and we've got a show for you about 1 hour of news and updates and videos and discount codes and more. We gotta get into it because it's just so much going on. Mr. LadyAda, what's on tonight's show?
All right. Tonight the code is Makerverse, and that's because we had some special guests on Show and Tell. We'll talk about that and more soon. 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're going to go to Silicon, the Comic-Con that's coming up, we have a discount code for that too. So multiple discounts tonight.
Ooh, multi-counts.
We're going to talk about our live series of shows, including Show and Tell, which was epic tonight. Thank you everyone who came by. We've got everyone's favorite segment, chip shortage, because we can't get chips. It's analog devices this week. We'll talk about what we really want, what we ordered, and what we don't have. Advanced manufacturing, all the cool stuff that we do here in New York City. We make stuff. Some 3D printing projects and more. We've got Ion MPI, where we introduce a new product, brought to you by DigiKey this week. It's from ST. We've got some new products. We've got a little bit of top secret. I'm going to answer your questions. We do all the questions on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord, where you can join 35,000 of us. There's a lot of us there. And you can even hang out there after we're done broadcasting. There's a whole giant community that is showing and sharing their projects and more. So hang out. All that and more tonight on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Oh, there's so much going on.
So the code is Makerverse, but I just want to mention...
What is a Makerverse?
Well, so the Savage Makerverse is coming up at one of the biggest, best events. The Silicon Valley Premier Comic-Con returns. It has the best in pop culture, tech, science, makers, artists, cosplay, gaming, comic creators, authors, and more. It's August 27th to 28th. And you can get tickets, and you can go. It's the San Jose Convention Center. There was an Adafruit discount code. That's for your store. But if you want to go to this event and save 15% off, use the code Adafruit. And because we live on the internet, and this is the way it works now, so we have nothing to do with this other than we're fans. They said, oh, here, we'll have a discount code for your community. We get no money. We're not compensated in any way. We really like this event and all the people that are doing it. That's how we roll. There's tons of things that we like, and we put it on our blog. And there's things that where you're like, that's interesting. We have nothing to do with any of this stuff all of the time.
We honestly think it would be a fun event to go to.
So that's our disclosure, is like, this is so cool. You couldn't pay us enough to promote it because we just think it's cool.
So we did it for free.
So anyways, use the code Adafruit if you're going to siliconsj.com and you're going to get tickets. Tonight, use Makerverse on Adafruit.com if you want to save some money on anything that you're buying in the Adafruit store, and we'll do some promotions and more. So anyways, I hope that makes the most sense. And then if you're shopping in the Adafruit store, we have a bunch of freebies.
Freebies. We still have the $99 or more Perma-Proto half-size breadboard PCB, a colorful PCB, great for taking your solderless breadboard projects and making them permanent. We are still kicking it with the pink PCB. PCB stands for pink PCB. It's weird. It is a KB2040. It has an RP2040 microcontroller, dual core, 133 megahertz, 8 megabytes of flash, STEMMA QT connector, castellated pads. We designed it for people who want to use something that's a pro micro shape, but using the latest chip, the RP2040, and it's free when you get $149 or more in the store. $199, we've got free UPS ground shipping, and still, we have back the Circuit Playground Express. It was out for a bit because we couldn't get some parts. But then we got some parts, and we immediately made Circuit Playground Expresses with them, our favorite development platform. Great for cosplay, great for making, great for learning, great for coding. It's got all the sensors and buttons and stuff built into it, so you can get started without any soldering or tools. It's free when you order $2.99 or more from the Adafruit shop. Okay,
and a reminder, so there is a giant global part shortage, and there's also an incredibly small supply of certain things like Raspberry Pis. So one of the things that we did is not only good security, but it's the way we manage folks not purchasing certain things and putting them on eBay for $500 is please make sure you make an account, you verify your email address, and then you set up two-factor authentication on your phone. That keeps your account safe and secure, and it allows us to limit the sales one per person for things like Raspberry Pis. And that's just kind of the world we're living in right now.
Believe me, if we could do it any other way, we would, but this is the best way.
Turns out it worked.
This is how it works for us.
Yeah. And the only people that are unhappy are the folks that were gouging one another for Raspberry Pis for $500. They would buy one, and then they would put it on eBay or other places, and that's not nice. That's not
right.
fair.
We want to make sure that all the makers, engineers, and people attending stuff like Silicon
That's right.
get a Raspberry Pi to make their projects.
They shouldn't be $500. That was the whole point.
$35.
Okay, so we do a bunch of live shows. Today was an epic one, so that's why we're starting Ask an Engineer a little later. On the show and tell this week, we're trying to help get the word out with Adam Savage's Silicon. It's Silicon Valley's premier Comic-Con, and it's back, Adam Savage and friends. So they stopped by. And you can go to Silicon SJ and you can see the theme. It's creating the improbable. And there's a lot of folks that you may know. Adam was there, show and tell. Jen Schechter is there. Sophie showed up. There's people that are speaking at the event and doing workshops and more who you know.
Like James, Robot Friends.
Yeah, Kevin from DigiKey stopped by. So there's a lot going on the show and tell. But we wanted to help out because there is there was a time and place where there was a maker fair every year, and there was a time and place where there was a lot of things going on every year. And if we all want this to come back, and we want places for makers to build stuff, like Sophie's doing the school cyberpunk workshop, this in-person thing, these experiences that we can all have, we have to support events like this, and we have to go there, and we have to also figure out what things that we want to teach and share one day. And this is the way to do it. So if you want, check it out. You can watch the show and tell. And like I said, we have a discount code.
And this is physical, in-person event.
Yeah. And then you can watch the show and tell with all of the folks who stop by. But we also have a message from Adam.
Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave to tell you that officially, Adam Savage's Silicon is coming soon. It's weird to say it out loud. But it is Silicon Valley's own Comic-Con. It is August 27th and 28th. And in addition to a magnificent roster of awesome celebrities, we also have makers galore coming from all over the world. Some of my favorite and most admired colleagues are going to be sharing their tips, tricks, techniques, and stories with you. So we'll see you there.
Okay, and then on Sundays we do Desk of LadyAda. We do it in two parts. The first part is usually when you're showing off stuff. What were you showing off this week?
Well, this week I was showing off, I don't know if we mentioned that there's this part shortage, but there's a part shortage, and so I've had to do a lot of redesigns. So for example, the CP2104 is a chip that we've used in a lot of boards, no longer available. So I'm doing redesigns to change over to the CP2102, very similar, that does require slightly different layout and parts. And one of the things that's happened is, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I want to just dust something off, and then before you know it, you're completely cleaning out the entire room and changing everything around. So I did a gut renovation basically on the Metro Mini because I was like, wow, while I'm here, why not add a STEMMA QT port? Why not go with a USB-C port? So I talk about all those changes and show off this design and some of the, also the sensor that I was testing. This is a very cool gas sensor called the AGS02MA that I was testing with the new Metro Mini.
Okay. And then we also do a segment called The Great Search. Where's that part I need? Because it's so hard to find parts now. So what did you try to help people find this week on digikey.com?
Well, what's funny is half the parts that we do on The Great Search are things that people send in. People are like, hey, can you help me find a part? And then one half are parts that I have to find. So this last week I had to find an alternative for the now discontinued Fan 5333, and a really amazing 1.5 amp switch DC-DC boost converter that runs in constant current mode. Was a very good chip, no longer available. So tried to find something that's pin and size compatible, hopefully functionally compatible. Found a couple options. One is closer in price and one is closer in functionality. So I might end up using both as I do some board respins.
Okay. Show's coming up. Don't forget JP's product pick of the week. That's coming up on Tuesday. You can watch the highlight. This week we're not going to play all the highlights on the show because we did a bunch of show and telling. JP's workshop is tomorrow. Be sure to tune into that. And then triumphant return of Scott on Deep Dive this week. So tune into this at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. and get the
So it says Deep Dive with
source.
Tim, but it's going to be Deep Dive with Scott, not
That's
Tim.
right. The original host. So Scott will be filling in for Tim this week. So stop on by and say hi to Scott. All right. We're going to kick it off with everyone's most feared and most favorite segment. Here we go. All right. This week's part
Thing I can't
shortage
get.
is analog devices. Ahead of what's possible is the tagline. LadyAda,
It's so ahead, I can't get it.
what are we not able to get to make electronics this week?
Okay, so this week, the part I can't get is the AD8495. This is a K-type analog thermocouple front end and filter. It's actually kind of a cool chip because it converts a K-type thermocouple. It's like this is an 8 MSOP part into an analog voltage. We have a bunch of Maxim parts that do digital K-type thermocouple or J whatever thermocouple readings. But what if you want an analog input? That's kind of cool. So we love this chip, and people
Yeah.
love it. You know, they really like our breakout.
What do we use it in?
The AD8495 breakout.
So we can't make these.
we cannot make these.
And how many young people are not able to explore all of the things that they could experiment with and do with electronics? Like this is a
basically-
top seller of
There's
ours.
like 5,000 orphans that
Yeah.
are crying in the dark tonight because
Yeah.
they cannot do their high temperature data logging, or people who are doing
This is like a really
also a lot of
popular
people
product.
who just want to make barbecue. This is really common for people who are making smokers, people who are making DIY coffee roasters, people who are doing
There's so many
kilns.
projects that use this. So okay, so here it is on the Analog Devices site.
Is it in stock at DigiKey?
Well, let's check out. So let's see. Oh no, wait.
0.
This is our life.
And like the lead time is like 80 weeks.
Yeah.
So we did order these.
We ordered 6,000 back in May of last year.
Yeah.
And it's now pushed to November of this year. That's months away.
But here's the thing: I'm not even sure we're going to get it in November. This is
Probably
you know,
not.
very estimate. So we would really like this, Miss Analog. Please, please, please allocate us some of these parts. There's an A type and a B type. I'll take either at this point. Please, please, please ship us a couple thousand of these 8495s.
we
they've
did
been out of stock.
everything right. We ordered them over a year ago. We did everything.
We ordered them, directly from Analog too.
We really want to make some of these.
We really
We
people
really-
want.
we were- like
The orphans are clawing at me daily. I cannot walk
Yeah.
down the street. Everyone is just begging me for 8495 breakout boards, please. Please, why would you do this to children? Why?
All right. So that's this week's chip shortage. Looking forward to not playing that song one day. All right, so let's kick it off with some good news. It's Python on hardware time.
Yay, Blinka!
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in the world of Python. Okay. Well, we hit a milestone.
Yeah.
300 CircuitPython libraries.
From Adafruit, we also have almost 100 from the community and the community bundle. But Adafruit, whenever we do a breakout board, unless there's some really weird reason, we always do a library for it. Sometimes there's stuff under NDA or there's a precompiled binary we can't. But pretty much 99% of our breakout boards and dev boards and sensors and helpers and libraries and stuff are part of the Adafruit CircuitPython libraries. Here's the good news. every CircuitPython library we write is supported and also works in CPython, which means it works on a Raspberry Pi. It works on a computer with a USB GPIO converter, like an FT232.
If you learn Python once, you can use it in all these places. That's kind of the cool thing. The write once, run anywhere thing is actually possible now.
With Python. Also, these libraries work on MicroPython if you use the Blinka library.
Yep.
So we hit 300. Thanks so much for everyone who helps. You know, all of these have documentation and typing data and read the docs and example codes, and it's just been awesome. You know, one of the best decisions I made was let's have one library that works for CircuitPython and, you know, Python boards as well, because, you know, people love to use our sensors with single board computers like BeagleBone, Raspberry Pi, as well as microcontrollers. Write once, run everywhere.
Yeah, and if you want to support Adafruit and all of the folks that we pay to write all these libraries and more, pick up an electronic kit. Pick up a breakout board.
Yep.
Something at adafruit.com and use the discount code tonight. Other news we wanted to get out there, speaking of supporting others, GitHub Sponsors now has more countries, so if you want to sponsor someone in another country, you can. CircuitPython Day is coming up pretty soon.
2 weeks.
It is Friday, August 19th. We have a lot going on. We have a panel discussion. We've got chat with some of the core team. We have a special edition of a CircuitPython themed show and tell. We have a project build. There's a lot of stuff going on. Foamy Guy is doing a CircuitPython Day game jam stream.
Oh, yeah.
And then the thing that we're going to show off, and then we have a ton of other things going on in the newsletter. In the world of Python on hardware,
Lots of
unending
Picos,
projects and
games,
things
videos,
that you can make.
MicroPython.
But I thought what we would do this week is show what came in the mail here.
Oh, that's right.
So this is
Why
from-
don't you hold this up and then I'll get this all
Yeah.
cleared off and ready.
So this is
What could it be? I wonder what it is.
This is actually a real unboxing. So thank you, Kevin, who sent this along. These are the hack tablets.
Okay, so here's a. Oh, you have a.
You may have seen the show and tell in the past where Kevin came on and Tim's show. Tim also went over this and said, we're giving these away. And the way we're giving these away is Kevin sent this to us, and we're going to take care of all the shipping and everything. So here it is. Adafruit team encloses 5 quantity of the hack tablets in support of the CircuitPython Day giveaway coordinated with Tim Foamy Guy. Thank you for your support on this hack. K-match. So here, put that on the overhead. See, look at this. I didn't know what was going to be in this box. Like, it could have been anything. Could have been like squirrels. And then here's the hack tablets.
All right, so let's show one off. I can.
Yeah, why don't you open up one? You can use the.
Okay, let's put it. Yeah, go to the overhead, and I'll carefully open one up.
Yeah, you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Hit
Let's
me.
do it.
Okay, so take off my rubber band, and then I'll just carefully open. We'll rewrap this when complete. Okay, so this uses a Creston display and enclosure, and then we'll unwrap this. Okay, ooh. Okay, so this got a ESP32 S3 N8R8, which means it's got 8 megabytes of flash, 8 megabytes of PS RAM, and it needs that because this is plugged in and controls a 7-inch capacitive touch display. There's also, there's a little thing. Welcome to Hack Tablet. This is using CircuitPython. They're going to try to get into the main branch. K-Match signed it. This is genuine.
Yeah.
It's in color. And then maybe I can just quickly plug it in. I don't know if it's going to work, but you know what? I'm going to risk it, I guess. The only question is I don't know how to. I'm learning too, but maybe I can just plug it into here.
I don't know.
You think
I
maybe?
didn't expect that we would be powering it up though. That's the
Yeah,
only thing
I don't
know.
either. So I'm sorry if I do something wrong.
Well, it lit up. Something's happening.
Something's happening. Oh. Oh.
Whoa.
Look at that.
As you can tell, we completely didn't plan this. Look at this. This is great. So
This is so cool.
someone is definitely going to get one of these for sure.
Yeah, I don't think the touch screen does any. Oh, it does.
yeah,
It
look
follow.
at
I
this.
can. Whoa, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
All right. Yeah, this is super fun. So do you want one of these? Yes.
Yeah.
And you can get it for free, right?
CircuitPython Day is when we'll be giving these away. Ooh. So,
All Amazing.
That's what you want, CircuitPython Day.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, K-Match and Foamy Guy, for getting the word out on these. And thank you to the CircuitPython community that's making all this possible together. And that is this week's Python on Hardware. Don't forget, you can get this newsletter delivered every single week to your inbox. You can also look at it on the website if you don't want to do that. And it's at Adafruit Daily. We made a completely separate site because we don't want anything connected to your store account, because we don't like spam either. We don't spam you anywhere. But this made it super duper clear. This is completely separate just for newsletters.
Okay, I got to put this carefully back into
That's right.
this bag.
That out of the box demo with the hack tablet was better than like my first iPod.
Yeah.
My first iPod didn't work out of the box.
Okay.
Good work, K-Match. Okay, let's do some open source hardware news. We have 2,708 guides in the Adafruit
Yes.
Learning System. This week, what's on the big board, LadyAda? Hand that to me and I'll put it
Yes.
back up.
How about I give this to you so it's safe, because I'm the clumsy one. This week we've got from Liz Clark a really cool CircuitPython USB MIDI to CV 1 volt per octave skull helper. Basically, if you have a synthesizer or Eurorack that takes 1 volt per octave analog input, but you want to control it from MIDI, or you want to like do some arpeggiation, or you want to do some filtering, what have you. This little tool will use a QT Py, which is a microcontroller with USB, and then you connect a 12-bit DAC to it, and it will generate your 1 volt per octave. So how handy is that? And it's skull-shaped. So I don't know if we have a little video. We'll show the 1-minute video.
We do have a video
Yeah.
that we're going to show at the end.
Okay. We've also got, from JP, he's got a little tutorial on how to use motorized slider pots, also known as motorized faders. He's got some CircuitPython code. The Arduino code's coming. But basically, if you're like, okay, I've got this motorized potentiometer fader from Adafruit, how do I actually use it? There's the capacitive touch. There's the, changing the location. How do I get it to move to a particular location? He's got some example code to get you going. So check that out. It's a great little guide. And he'll be doing some fun projects with these motorized faders. We've also been updating some of our guides, the SCD30 guide and the DPS 310 guide. I think these were both added to the Whippersnapper sensor quick starts. So if you want to use these with our IoT service with no coding, no soldering, these sensors are supported and now have documentation thanks to Eva.
Okay. Next up on the big board.
Next up, Kattni also wrote a tutorial on using the PCF 8574. That's last week's 2 weeks ago new product. It's a GPIO expander, 8 bits that works over I2C. And she's written a guide that has all the schematics and diagrams, Arduino and CircuitPython or Python code. We've also got the Raspberry Pi face recognition treasure box. This was a massive guide overhaul by Paint Your Dragon. This is one of our most popular guides. It says Abigail, but Abigail actually did the helping and moving it from our old system to the new one. It's actually originally written by Tony D and now updated by Paint Your Dragon. These are Raspberry Pi and Eigenface, OpenCV to do face recognition and only open the box when the original owner's face shows up. So it's a good demo of machine learning, vision using the camera. And it was originally written for the Raspberry Pi 1, so you do not need a Pi 4 for this. It was designed for a lower power Pi, which is great because it's kind of hard to get some of the newer ones now. Andrew Sink, who has a great webpage for low polyifying 3D models, wrote a guide.
Also an ASCII thing where you upload an STL file and it makes cool ASCII art.
That's cool.
Yeah. So fantastic 3D digital artists that we had work on a guide with us. It's 3D Scan Week here.
Yes. So coincidentally, these both came out at the same time, but they're 2 different ways of doing it. So there's both information on both guides. Mm-hmm. So Andrew Sink, we wanted to throw some cash his way to help promote his projects. So we did that by having him write a guide. And how to do 3D scanning and then use his tools to make a low poly model. And then Noah and Pedro also did a guide. They went out and did some statues, and they also showed how to make them into a lamp with some NeoPixels as well. So
we'll
if you want to make
soon.
some cool low poly versions, or you don't have to low poly them, but I like the low poly style. But just using photography to make 3D models, you don't need a LiDAR, you don't need a special phone. Almost any phone can do it these days using online tools.
All right, and here's that video. What up?
Hi.
What do you want to do?
I was just saying, can you please come back to me after? Because usually we jump straight into the 3D.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out also if you want to make one of these MIDI to 1-volt octave devices, but you don't want to go through the 3D printing and building. They at Stargirl at Winterbloom makes a module that does this as well. That
cool.
also runs CircuitPython. I want to shout out to her because she's inspiration for this project.
Right on. All right, let's do some factory footage here. And it wouldn't be made in New York City for us right now unless Disney was making a building across the street. So it's continuing to grow. It was windy out and it was raining, so you can kind of see some things at some of the upper floors.
I can see the little guy on like the
Meep, meep.
cherry picker. Hey.
Yeah. There was a question in the chat. When a board goes through one pick and place machine, does it assemble it in one machine and then part of it in the other? Yeah. So
For that board in particular, because it's all LEDs, so what we do is we have, each pick and place has a certain number of nozzles.
Yeah.
And so we load that
And
many
then the
nozzles
reels,
versus
yeah.
reels on both. And so, because it's all LEDs and they take so long. Like a board with 144 LEDs, it's like you can imagine there's a lot of LEDs.
And then what we do is we run the job through a computer that will tell us the most optimized way to load balance across the machines. So usually what happens is you eventually have so many reels and you have one machine. One of our machines is faster than the other too, so we'll optimize. Basically, one of the pick and place machines is kind of like a NeoPixel machine.
Yeah.
And then the other one will be things like, chunky GPS modules and
And
stuff.
it's totally like the traveling salesman problem. like, but in a robot. Like, this is actually it. You're like, why am I learning about this theoretical graph solving optimization issue?
This is it.
This is it. This is the one.
Okay, let's do some 3D printing. Okay, we're going to show the video of the low poly sculpture project and then a speed up. Here, I wanted to show this. So this was from the Rubin Museum. It was a Buddha sculpture, and it's beautiful. It's a person. It's this giant Zen master that's meditating. But the aesthetic that I like is this like pixelated look.
Yeah.
So I used my phone. I scanned it. And you can print these out.
It's kind of minimalist, right? So it's got a little bit of that, like the Japanese Zen Buddhist style.
Yeah, and it's really beautiful, and you can light these up. And one of the neat things is, you go to a museum and you see sculptures. If you bring your phone with you, you can scan it and make your own little miniature ones, and you don't have to even print a big one. Here's a little Buddha, see?
Right.
And so we wanted to show how to do this in a couple different ways. So Noah Pedro showed how to make these type of sculptures using all these open source tools, and then we had the original author of this online tool, Andrew. He also did a guide. So this is 3D scanning week here at Adafruit. So we'll play those videos back to back and see you on the other side.
Hey, what's up folks? In this project, we're scanning statues to 3D print low polygon miniatures. You can 3D scan statues from museums, art galleries, or historical sites to make custom keepsakes. With an Adafruit Cutie Pie and a NeoPixel stick, you can make them glow to make a custom lamp. To diffuse the LEDs, you can 3D print them with zero infill to make them hollow. Using photogrammetry, we can generate detailed 3D scans and use a low polygon generator to make artistic renditions. Use the Polycam app and take about 50 photos of a statue at different angles. Even with differences in lighting, distance, and people walking in front of the statue, you can get a pretty decent scan. After Polycam processes the photos, you can export an OBJ file to clean and modify. We imported the file into Blender and removed the unwanted geometry. We'll start by adding a box around the part that we'd like to remove. Next, we'll add a Boolean modifier and use the box to isolate the statue. Switch to edit mode to select any leftover faces and delete. Check out the guide on the Adafruit Learning System for a full step-by-step tutorial. To generate a low polygon model, we used Andrew Sink's low polygon generator that you can find on lowpoly3d.xyz. Here you can easily decimate the model to get a cool looking low-res statue. Next, we'll export our model and then re-import it into Blender to fix any overlapping faces or overhangs. Inside Blender, we can delete extra faces and fill in any holes generated during the low polygon process. Then we'll use the fill face command to rebuild the geometry. To fix any extreme overhangs, we can pull faces by going into the sculpt mode. We use the elastic deform tool to help pull faces so they're at a 45-degree angle. This will help cut down on the amount of support material. Now we can export the model as an STL and slice for 3D printing. We had a lot of fun printing these and think it's a great way to experience works of art when you aren't physically able to travel. It's also great for archiving. Being able to touch and feel objects that are protected from the public is a great use of this technique. We hope this inspires you to try 3D scanning and make your own. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more projects from Adafruit. And don't forget, you can watch 3D Hangouts with Noah Pedro
on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Let's kick it off with some Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
This week's Eye on MPI is from ST. LadyAda, what is your new product introduction of the week, brought to you by DigiKey?
Okay, I'm glad you asked.
What is it?
It's the ST LPS 28. This is a new barometric pressure and temperature sensor available from ST. It comes in this funky package. It's got this like cool lip on it because it's actually designed so you could put it into injection molded case with an O-ring, or you can attach a tube to it and have, again, an O-ring maybe to seal it. The thing that's really cool about the sensor is it is a dual full scale up to 4,000 hectopascals absolute digital output, and it's water resistant. So this is neat because we've had a couple of water resistant packages that are like, okay, you just can use them outside and they're not likely to get damaged, especially if you're using it to measure outdoor humidity. Without a Teflon coating. These have like a gel coating. They're I2C, they have 24-bit reading, but really the thing that's cool about them is that they go to 4,000 HPA. They are part of a family. We stock actually quite a few ST barometers, pressure sensors. I think we stock the LPS 22, the 25, and the 33. So you can see some of these. But as you can tell, pretty much all of them except for the 28 only go up to 1260 HPA, which is, basically sea level. Sea level is about 1,000. One atmosphere is about 1,000 hectopascals. And so that's what you'll usually see for most sensors from ST, from Bosch, from other vendors, Sensorion, etc. So what's interesting about, and then here's some of the other sensors. So if you do want to pick some of those up, we have some of them in stock as well. And they're good for altitude sensing. So this is what, a lot of pressure sensors are used for. Yes, you can use them to kind of detect weather patterns, but what they're most commonly used for is, as you go up a mountain, as you go upstairs, or as your drone, lifts off the ground, the pressure is going to change, and you can use this to detect changes in altitude. But what a lot of them can't do is go below sea level. So one thing that this sensor does, which is really nice, is it's got that MEMS sensor in the middle, and the ASIC is what does the I2C conversion. And the metal lid is, mechanical protection, but then it's filled with gel, and so the gel protects it from water pressure up to 10 atmospheres, which would be 10,000 hectopascals, and keeps it water resistant, so you could actually dunk this underwater. Of course, the rest of the circuitry has to be water protected or sealed, but the sensor itself can be exposed to water, and it even says, water can be mixed with some chlorine or detergent or solvents or chemicals to some extent. I think if you have like I wouldn't dunk it in gasoline, but if it's just water that has some contaminants in it, the gel will protect the sensor and allow you to still sense that pressure change. And it's important that it can do up to 4,000 hectopascals, also known as about 4 bar, because if you want to use this, say, in a diving watch that can go down to 30 meters, or just, a watch that can survive underwater usage and tell you how far below you're going, how far below the surface of the water you are. It's interesting is, most sensors, I think they are like, a couple hundred to, again, 1,000 hectopascals. And that will actually take you up to like, most mountaintops. But if you go only down 10 meters underwater, the pressure doubles. At 20 meters, it doubles again. 30 meters, now it's 4 times as much pressure as you would at sea level. So, even though it's like, wow, four times the pressure reading, that must mean you can go infinitely deep. Nope, 30 meters, but that's still very deep. And of course, you could use this as a sensor to determine if you're making like a UAV that goes underwater, or some other underwater robotic cam, or something that could be in a high pressure zone. This sensor will do the job, and of course it's waterproof as well. The interface is nice and convenient. It's standard I2C. There's an interrupt data ready pin handy. There's an address select pin, so you can have 2 sensors, or maybe actually 4 sensors, I think, if you connect the SA0 pin to like power, ground, clock, or data. I think you could have a couple different I2C address, 7-bit addresses. And then it's also not only I2C, but I3C, which we covered a couple shows ago. It's the new modern I2C improvement. It has a couple things going for it, but back compatible with I2C. So don't worry, you can still use it with your 8-bit microcontroller, and then you want to integrate this into an Android running watch with I3C, go for it. You're also good to go. Another nice thing I noticed is the register map is really simple. There's a built-in calibration, but the calibration is programmed in at the factory. So you just, once you initialize it, you set up, what FIFOs or whatever you want, or how many readings to take before doing any kind of averaging. You pretty much just read the pressure out, as a scale from 0 to, the max value, whether you're in high pressure or low pressure mode. And that's it. There's no math, there's no exponentials, there's no like logarithmic stuff you got to do. It's really easy to get that data out and calculate it instantly. ST has a library if you don't want to write it from scratch. Check it out. It's not, Arduino, but it could probably be easily ported to whatever platform you're using. Of course, it's going to work great with ST's IDE and tools. But it is on GitHub, so check it out. I really am enjoying that silicon vendors are now releasing published open source code for their drivers, for their sensors. It's a big step up from even like a decade ago when you were really on your own. You read the data sheet and good luck. But having it not under NDA, being open source and available is awesome. So check that out. There's also an eval board, which I can show on the overhead real fast if you want to get started quickly. Digi has the eval board in stock, and it's basically just a simple breakout.
Yeah, well, and then here it is. There's we like to do these when you can actually buy them.
Yes, so this sensor is actually available. You can purchase it. So it's not part of the chip shortage. It's part of NPI.
We wouldn't do that to you.
No, so this is, let me see. So this is a sensor in the middle there. So this is just a simple breakout. I think this plugs into some of their dev boards. But you've just got the I2C pins labeled out here, and the interrupt, ground, power, and just a capacitor. That's all you need. And you can see it's a quite small sensor. It's designed for watches and wearables, but of course it can be used for anything that needs high pressure, waterproof sensing.
Okay, and that's Eye on NPI.
Eye on NPI.
All right, we're gonna remind you, this is the code for our store tonight, Makerverse. But don't forget, you can also, if you're thinking of going to Silicon, coming up with Adam Savage Makerverse, which we talked about all throughout. This is our disclaimer. We just trying to help out, get the word out. But if you want to, there's the code Adafruit there too, and we'll have some reminders on all our social media platforms later. Let's do some new products, Lady. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
No new song this week?
New. Sorry, the new song is, oh my goodness, there's so much going on that
There's so much new.
I can't handle all the news.
All right, so let's kick it off.
Sorry, I was like putting, I
There's a lot
usually have a
going on.
minute before the NPI.
There's a
to
lot going on this week.
New product. Okay, so let's kick it off. Okay, starting off, we have this like 30-in-1 DC adapter kit, and we do have a couple of DC adapters. Because basically all of our power supplies have 2.1 millimeter inner diameter, 5.5 millimeter outer diameter plugs, our 9-volt adapter, 5-volt, 12-volt adjustable, et cetera, et cetera. But people are like, I want to use this with some weird-ass device with a weird-ass connector. Okay, this is it. This is the weird-ass adapter party. You get 30 adapters. Some are weirder than others. I can show them off quickly. I just want to show people how they work because basically each one of them has a 2.1 millimeter DC jack plug. You have your standard wall adapter that we sell. Again, the most common sizing is 2.1 millimeter inner diameter. You plug it in, and now it is a different plug. So let's say you're
That's
like,
cool.
I have a weird Lenovo or Dell, I think this is Lenovo, rectangular laptop connector, and you
Yeah.
want to plug it in. Okay, only thing is, of course, the adapters. The adapters do not do any voltage conversion. They don't do any polarity conversion. So they all assume that you have a center positive adapter, because again, that's like 99% of things are center positive. Not good for if you're doing something with, like, there's some audio devices and pedals that use center negative. So basically you get just a ridiculous number of, like, what is this? I don't know. It's some other laptop. This is like a Dell Inspiron thing. Who knows?
This is like
plugs.
Sony and Lenovo.
Plugs. You've got stuff. And some of these are like a total nightmare. Like this one is like a phono jack. I've seen this. I've seen like your power goes through a 2.5 millimeter
cursed.
phono. It's totally cursed. 1.1 millimeter inner diameter. All sorts of weird ass
I have
ones.
so many things where I'm like,
Can you imagine,
I'm never
like,
going to find the
you're
power
gonna
adapter.
plug
I'm
the-
going to need this now.
Yeah, so I'm taking this home because there's always like and like they
Yeah.
all look really similar, but they're slightly different
My
sizes.
Sharp Zaris PDA will finally get charged up.
So there you go. You get a whole bunch. So we recommend. There's two ways I recommend. One, use our DC power adapters. We have again an adjustable one. You can dial in the voltage when you need 19 volts or 17 volts or 6.5 or whatever. We also have our USB Type C PD adapter. So you plug into a standard USB-C power supply, and it gives you again a 2.1 millimeter. But then you're like, okay, I have to actually convert it to my laptop. So you want to basically turn your laptop into a USB-C powered device, and it's using one of these crazy, ridiculous plugs. You can then do that. So 2.1 millimeter, don't forget, doesn't change the polarity, doesn't change the voltage. It just changes the plug.
Okay, and are the connectors labeled as to size?
They are not labeled on the plugs themselves, but on the website we have a list of every single size.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much all of them.
All right, what's next?
Next up, we've got a bunch of servo helper cables. This is a shrouded servo to basically separated triple header plugs. So you're like, why can't I just use plain headers? You can use plain jumpers for this, but what's really nice is if you look at the socket, it's got that little notch cut out, which means you can't plug in your servo backwards. So it's kind of good for kits and workshops. On the end, the pins are separated, and what this means is if
That's kind of nice.
I bring my demo, that's the song, is Bring My Demo. Around the overhead, I'll show really fast. You can take your servo, you plug it into the adapter, and then it splits apart. So if you're plugging into something like a servo, you're not doing the little game of like, which
nice.
cables are connected. You just have all the colors, and you have 5 ground and whatever your signal line, and then your servo is going back and forth.
That's cool.
We also have a version with alligator clips.
Right.
Same sort of thing. Alligator clips separated out to a nice servo plug. Again, you're like, why can't you use jumper cables, alligator? Well, it's got this nice, like, it's shrouded and it's like the right orientation. And then for this, I will show this version on the overhead. I know there's so many new products. You have a microbit, you have a Circuit Playground Express, you have some wearable thing. You want to connect a servo. You don't have to worry about mixing up pins or anything. Everything is like labeled and ready to go. So it makes it very easy to connect any standard servo. Just plug it straight through, and you get a little bit more length.
Okay.
Next up, more cable adapters. This is a JST XH extender. JST XHs are 2.5 millimeter pitch. They look like this. They're often used in like arcade connectors or buttons or like anything that has like an LED that's connected to a wire. It's a pretty, we have JST SH extenders and stuff, but XH is also used, like I said, especially for arcade buttons and micro switches. It's a very common connector. So this gives you a bit of stretch.
Okay, a little bit of a follow-up from some of the things we were showing off last week. We've got more colors of these.
These step switches, like the TR808, we have the other video, of course, that also covers these. They have a single pole double throw switch. They have a beautiful clicky connector, and we've got the multiple colors with a red LED. So again, often used in like step sequencers in the 80s, but I think it'd be pretty cool for some projects you want to build now. They do work, JP reported they worked in perf board. Things are on a 0.1 inch boundary, but they're not easily used in a breadboard where there's like lines for each row. They're best used in like a gridded proto board where you can kind of free wire them. But you get a couple per pack and multiple colors, red LED, a great little input, and they're very, very clicky.
Yeah, so you can check out the page there. And we also are doing more of these potentiometer knobs.
Yes, we've got these micro knobs, sometimes referred to as Davies 1900 style. I've also got a beautiful demo with a potentiometer, rotary encoder. What's nice is that they all have set screws, and so whether you have round, D shaft, or T18, doesn't matter. It'll work with any kind of 6 millimeter-ish knob. So we've got brown, purple, and green, and I think we actually even put in blue like right before the show. But it was just fine. We have all the colors, and don't forget we also have a rainbow pack. If you see down there in the corner, we have a pack with one of each color. So if you're like, I don't know which one I want, get the rainbow pack, it'll get you one of each, and then you can decide if you want, the 4 packs of other knobs.
Okay, and the star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady Ada, our community, our staff, our customers, is a product that grew in and from the community. Congratulations, Joey. Joey has a product in our store. It's a feather wing. It's the star of the show this week.
Can you distract people? Because I left the demo on my desk.
Can I distract people?
Yeah,
I can always distract people. Okay. So, my distraction will be, this print that we did of the Buddha scan, this one has a 0 infill, so it's hollow.
Okay.
This is a resin print. It's heavy. So
It's a good distraction. Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
The star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady Ada, our community, our customers, and our staff, and all the folks who purchase things at Adafruit, is this
LCD
from
feather wing.
Joey, congratulations.
Yes, he made a product. He kitted it. He sold it. We bought some. So this is a feather wing specifically for adding a really fun LCD display. He made a custom LCD display, and apparently he did a talk about it too, which is cool. So this is a custom-made LCD. This just demo shows it flashing. All these are individually controllable, but I'm just flashing them on or off. There's like a moon, there's an alarm, there's like a wireless signal, there's like data transfer, there's a battery, AM, PM, and then of course you can see multiple digits here. Not everything is lit up, but there's like another digit. There's a colon as well. And so you can see there's decimal dots. So it's got lots of segments. Oh, and a negative sign back here. You can see that isn't lit yet. So I just have it set up with the CircuitPython demo, which just sort of blinks a couple things and then increments the time with the colon dots. What's neat is that this uses unplug this here. It uses an I2C, a very fine pitch I2C to LCD converter. So all of that like controlling of segments and like the timing and all that is taken care of for you. You just have this chip you connect over I2C. He even has the instructions in this bear. I think it's a bear with like some sort of robotic leg, and it's got a reset button, and you can change I2C pins. You can change the address. And then the custom LCD, which is like exactly the right size. You can make a clock, a calculator, bandwidth detector, all sorts of cool stuff, whatever you like. And it works with CircuitPython, although I think there'll probably be an Arduino library eventually for people who want that. I'm using it on a Feather M4, but it'll work on any Feather device with I2C, which is basically all of them, will work with this design.
And our receiving team said that Joey's kits that came in were the best package. Everything was complete. Everything was perfect. Out of every vendor, we've had thousands of them. Congratulations, Joey. That is high praise from our team.
All right, so pick it up.
That's This Week in Products. Okay, cool. We're going to do a top secret. And while we're doing the top secret, don't forget, Makeverse is the code for our store. Adafruit is a code on Silicon SJ if you want to go to that event and hang out with Adam
Savage,
Jen,
Sophie,
Jay, and this year's theme.
DigiKey.
Yeah, and this
we got
year's theme is creating the improbable. So we're gonna do some top secret.
Yeah, we got
and
the
then,
top secret
yeah,
video.
So go over to Discord and start posting your questions. I have a couple lined up, but we're gonna do some top secret. Then we'll bounce over to the questions. Here we go. All right, this week's top secret. We did a little video, and we're just gonna play it because we have a bunch of screens on the way. Okay, LadyAda, what is this?
Hey everybody, we're here at the Adafruit factory where we do all of our manufacturing, and today I'm testing out some TFT samples. So, we get these raw TFT panels from factories, and sometimes we evaluate new TFT samples or new factories. In this case, we've got two versions, very similar looking, of 5-inch TFT display with a touch screen. And so what we like to do is we load the sample in, and we make sure that the touchscreen part's working and that it's colorful and the contrast is good and the backlight works. And if it's good, then we can have it as an alternative supplier, and we test with a single board computer, so it's very easy to set it up and then put it away when done. And so far, I actually really like this sample a little bit more than the TFT we currently use, so we'll probably end up transitioning to using this slightly brighter looking TFT.
That's week's words are starting to fall out of my head. That's this week's top secret. We'll have more next week, but let's go over to the questions, Lydia.
Let's hit up some questions.
Okay, so the questions this week, as far as unobtainium, which is things you can't get, Jets and Nanos. We don't stock those.
Yeah, we don't stock them
but
anyways.
Some of the hardware locator Twitter sites that the chat posted, sign up for those. We're more focused on Raspberry Pi stuff, so that's what we've been trying to manage the supply of. But there are some Jets and Nanos. They're just on other sites. Because the BNO55 is unobtainium, but 085s are available, I'm planning to extend my 085 CircuitPython library to simulate some of the 055 methods. If so, do you think the community would be interested in sharing? The person making this, do you
I
think?
will say we actually did, I think we did put some BNO 055s in the store, and I think we might have a couple more in stock left. So if you just need a couple, we do have some, and I think we also shipped some out to DigiKey and Mauser of our breakouts. So you will be able to get them. That said, it's always a good idea to make sure that your library can do either, because just because we have some this week does not mean we'll have some next week.
Okay, I can answer this one, I think. Hi, I'm new to this community. I have limited knowledge of electronics, but I'm learning. I have a project in mind and have been to the Adafruit site. I'm having a hard time narrowing down the board I need. Is there somewhere on the site or this forum where you could point me in the direction that would help me narrow this down, what I need? Yes, so there's a couple places you can go. Of course, you're in Discord right now, so say the project you're doing, and if it needs Wi-Fi, or if it needs battery, or if it needs things, the team will, or the community will say, oh, here's a board you can look at. You can also go to circuitpython.org/downloads, and we have filters on the features of specific boards. And even though it says CircuitPython, there's our stuff supports Arduino and all that stuff, but that's a good way to do it. You can also look, of course, on our website, but that's where we stock a lot of stuff, so that's a little bit harder. So you might want to check out the Make Board Guide.
What a great idea.
They're coming up with the next one soon, the 2022 one, but the last year one, 2021, is available, and just go to any search engine you want and type in Make Magazine DigiKey Board Guide or Make Magazine Board Guide, and you'll be able to use their interactive viewer. But if you type in what project you're doing, we'd be able to help you out and just say, oh, like, what are you trying to make? And here's a board that you can use.
It's really hard because we have so many breakouts and so many dip boards, and some we carry just because people use them in older projects, so they're not the new stuff, but we don't want to discontinue them because we try not to discontinue.
Okay.
And some of the latest and greatest, but sometimes the latest and greatest is so latest and greatest it's a little tougher to use.
Yeah, we also have a guide. Thank you, Mark, who posted this up in the chat. It's on the Learn site. It's called Choose Your CircuitPython Board.
That's a good guide too.
But usually, it's like, oh, if I want Bluetooth, here's a series of boards. I want Wi-Fi, here's a series of boards. boards. I want both. Here's a series of boards. Oh, I want to make sure it has battery on board or a screen. Here's a series of boards. And so that's kind of a way to start thinking about it. It might, that's not the answer. It's just how to get to the answer.
Yeah.
Question for the show. Is the Adafruit APD S9960 going to be okay to sense if a red LED is illuminated with color detection, or is the board better for seeing reflection of an item?
Yes, it can detect LED. Yeah, I mean, light coming off of something that's illuminated or red light hitting it will both be great for detecting color.
Whoops, I must skip this, but I did not. Can the step switch have the LED change to a different color?
Not easily.
Not easily.
And they only really come in red, so I pretty much went with red.
Okay. Here is the question about the board. We might have some suggestions. I want to use a motion sensor that will send a signal either to my phone or my Google Nest Hub. It needs to run on battery, but I would like to use a solar panel to keep it charged.
I think it's a good one actually for the forums because there's going to be a couple questions: what kind of motion sensor, and how you're expecting to send it to Nest. So that's the solar panel stuff is easy, but it's like getting that data. It's like, can you use if this and that. I think we need to.
It might need to be a board that works with Adafruit IO because then you have to use if then this that, and then you can use Nest. So that'll be.
I don't want to say like get this and that, and then it's like, oh shoot, but you're using Bluetooth.
But you're getting
Wi-Fi.
closer to what we'd be able to, or the community.
This is
be
a
able
great
to
thing
say.
for the forums. We answer questions like this all the time.
Yeah. Okay. I think that is it because we got to bounce. I think that's going to be all the questions.
It was jam packed, and we've been in this chair for 90 minutes.
Yes, we've been here for a long time. So that's our show for tonight. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget the code is Makerverse. That's on adafruit.com. And then if you are planning to go to Silicon SJ, don't forget, use the code Adafruit. That'll be going all the way until the event, I think, and you get 15% off. So please consider it. And like I said, we get nothing for doing this. We just think this is a cool event with a lot of people we know. So that's why we're helping out. Turns out we like things and we like to share.
Who would have thought?
My moral of the story of tonight is, we like to make things and share. And even if it's just a news article or a book or a movie or code, the more you give, the more you get. And because we like sharing things like code and how to make things, Joey has a beautiful series of tweets, and I can't believe I just said beautiful series of tweets in a sentence because normally those things aren't true. But it's a good example of when you share and you give, it doesn't diminish you in any way. It just makes everything brighter. It's like the whole, you can light another candle with a candle. It doesn't make the original candle any dimmer. You can light more together. So I think it's really neat that you can use even a platform to get the word out about an event. You can say, oh, here's a cool movie or a cool song I heard. Here's all sorts of things. What's the sense of holding it in? Because you never know what's going to spark the next person. So I think that's kind of neat, and that's the theme, and that's why we're really happy to see all of our friends who are running Silicon and friends we haven't met in person yet, and all the people that are going to go to an event like that, and years later they're going to say...
It's going to be so much fun.
Well, they're going to say,
jealous.
That's when I got my start. Or, someone like Joey who's like, oh, he was posting today, he's like, here's my first kit that I bought from Adafruit. It was like 2018 or something like that. And now he's a manufacturer of electronics. And everyone talks about well, how do we have manufacturing come back? Or how do we do this? Or how do we do that? Well, action and sharing seems to be a really good way. So anyways, thanks everybody for coming by tonight. It's very much appreciated, and we'll see everybody next week. Special thanks to Zay behind the scenes. Also, thanks to K-Match, who sent the awesome hack tablets. These are really cool.
And a cool demo.
Yeah.
That worked.
And really nice packaging. Really good job.
Good work.
And normally I open up boxes before we do something because I'm like, well, what if something, who knows what's going to be in the box? But that worked out really well. And special thanks to everyone who's been helping out in the chats during tonight's show and more. And thanks for your patience because we had a very long show and tell, but I think it was worth it. So we'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production. Here is your moment of Zener. We'll see you next week, everybody.